Hello beautiful friends, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be working on planting another nectarine tree. So if you have been with us since last year, you will have seen that we had planted this nectarine here. Now this is a dwarf nectarine, caps out at about 8 to 10 foot tall. This guy that we've got here is going to be a 12 to 15, so it's a semi-dwarf. And let's go on ahead and dive into the reasons that we decided to go ahead and put two of these guys in instead of just leaving the one nectarine. Okay friends, so a few factors went into our decision to plant a second nectarine tree. Now the first deciding factor was that we need more shade. With the metallic substances that they're spraying overhead right now, we have begun to have some burning issues on our annual garden that is not helpful for plant production, obviously. So we need a little bit of filtered sunlight going on over here in our garden. If you've been here for a time, you'll know that our space pretty much in season is full sun from about 7:30 to 7:30, and that's a lot of direct hitting sunlight. So we need to get some filtered shade going on back here to help mitigate all of that light. Now, the other deciding factor for us when it came to putting in another nectarine tree, because we did toy around with putting some different trees in and not putting in a nectarine tree, but we settled on the nectarine tree because when it comes to fruiting trees or bushes in particular, they like to have friends. So if you have a single fruiting tree on your property and there is not, say, an adjoining property that has another of that exact same type of fruiting tree, you're going to have a lower yield in the long run. So this one nectarine tree that we had planted is enough for us to have for fresh eating during the season. That's great. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, we did decide that it was going to be way more valuable for us to be able to preserve some of the nectarines out of season. We weren't going to be doing a heavy amount of preserving on them, but we did notice that, hey, maybe we would like to have a few like jams, preserves, even just jars of the fruit to have on hand to have occasionally throughout the winter months. Now, in order to facilitate that, we needed to have a companion nectarine tree, because the more fruiting trees that you have together, the larger your harvest is going to be. So if you are someone who is into canning and preserving and freeze drying, all of those things, you're going to want to have more than one fruiting tree or bush in order to get the highest yield possible. Now, what you can do in a small space garden, as I said, I have the original dwarf from last year and the new one is going to be a semi-dwarf. You don't necessarily have to have that semi-dwarf height if you don't want to. For us, we are doing the semi-dwarf just to get a little bit more afternoon shade going on over here into the sort of lower end of the garden, just to give a little bit of a shade break. So I could have totally gone on ahead and done another of the dwarf in this situation, but as I said, I would like to have a little bit more shade. And besides that, they are honestly really stinking gorgeous in the spring. I'll see if I can find the photo of what the nectarine looked like when it was blooming out this spring and pop it up here on the screen so that you can see what it looked like. They really truly are beautiful. Now, the warning on this. So I am in a zone 7 where I'm growing, and just because I'm in a zone 7 doesn't mean that my zone 7 is going to be the same as your zone 7. So I'm a zone 7 in the south. A zone 7 out west is not going to be at all like a zone 7 in the south or a zone 7 out in the east. That being said, know your area. So for my area in particular, in the spring, we end up always having this really hard late second killing frost. So when you are planting or growing or cultivating these types of trees, nectarines, peaches, plums, apricots, these types of trees, you really need to know the area that you're growing in, because we are going to have to, at least on this dwarf tree, look at doing a little bit of frost prevention, at least on the lower half, because that second frost always seems to come after the round of flowers come out, and those flowers are what develop into your fruit. So when that second killing frost comes, it kills all the flowers, and guess what? No fruit. Yeah, so a little bit problematic. Now you could be, as I said, in a different zone 7 that doesn't have that dual frost problem that we seem to have here in our zone. If so, awesome sauce. You in luck, you know, you're probably gonna not have to look at covering your tree and protecting those blossoms. Now that being said, with this larger semi-dwarf nectarine that we are planting, obviously I'm going to try and let that guy get to height, because as I said, I need shade. The option that I have with any fruiting tree is that I can keep it as small as I want it. Okay, so that is something to take into consideration. So in order to make the most of your harvest, you can definitely go on ahead and keep your fruit trees trimmed back to whatever size and shape you need to. You can pull it up online. There's a ton of different methods for doing this, and different titles and things that they are called. Now, as I said, this semi-dwarf, we're going to allow it to get some height. I'm not going to worry about harvesting off of the top of that tree. I'm just going to let whatever is gonna happen weather-wise to the top of the tree happen to the top of the tree. Number one, I will go on ahead and probably protect the bottom section so that I can get some fruit off of it. So, you know, the areas obviously that I can reach. But there's a good possibility that once the canopy is larger and full, I won't have to worry too much about protecting those lower branches at all. So just know where you're growing, and, you know, be prepared to maybe have to supplement a little bit of protection for whatever it is that you are planting. Same goes with berry bushes. Sometimes some zones you need to put a little bit of cover over the top of berrying bushes in order to help protect them. Just kind of depends upon where you are. So I'm going to go on ahead, I'm going to turn you around because we need to finish getting this hole dug, and we need to get this guy into the ground before it gets too much hotter out. So I'll see you back here in a little while. Okay friends, so she is in, we are done, and also side note, I know I've probably mentioned this on previous videos, but fall really is one of the best times to be planting things like trees, shrubs, anything in the perennial category. It is a time for the tree to just calm down naturally and to focus solely on rooting. So that's one of the number one reasons to plant in the fall, is just because the tree doesn't have to focus on doing all of the things all at the exact same time. It can just do its thing, get really good roots, get really well established. Now next spring, when this goes into bud, now next spring when this guy goes to bloom and bud out, I'm not actually going to let the fruit get to the point of harvest. I will be pulling the fruit off. I know that that's a very challenging concept for beginner gardeners to get their brains wrapped around, but if you let your fruit tree that you have just planted fruit, unfortunately, you are going to be sacrificing approximately 5 years of large bulk harvest. So I highly, 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 highly encourage you as a beginner gardener to do the hard thing the first year and just remove all of the fruit. I know that it's hard. I get it. I've been there myself, but honestly, the tree is going to do better when you remove the fruit off. That is just the way that they work. It's just the way that they operate. They need that year. And honestly, you kind of need the year too, because you need that year to see how well established your tree is going to be and how well it's going to take in the area that you have planted it. Because sometimes fruit trees can be a little bit more temperamental than other trees. So when you go on ahead and remove the fruit, the side bonus is that you give the tree the ability to establish during a more stressful technical time of year. You're giving it a break and it's gonna pay you back. I promise it'll pay you back in the end. So just remove the fruit off, guys. I hope you guys have found this video helpful, and don't forget to comment down below. I would love to hear from you if you have any questions or if you have any tips or tricks on growing fruiting trees. Go on ahead and drop them down below for everybody to see in the comment section. Don't forget that I have a course available now. So if you are interested in learning more about gardening where you are, I have what is called the Bountiful Garden Blueprint course. You do this all online. It's totally yours for your lifetime. You can go back through it as many times as you need. My guide is included. And guess what? You also get a bonus live call with me when you go on ahead and purchase that e-course. So I'll drop the link down below in the description box for you to grab today. And as always, keep it simple, natural, and essential, and check out this video here at the end on growing fruit bushes. So that way you can learn a little bit more about what you can do successfully in a small space. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye.